Sometimes because there are definitely a lot of international players getting to like that star level. But when it comes to just talent up and down on each of these countries, the US still dominates. Welcome to the Wednesday, August 11th edition of the TV on Basketball podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other great content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe. That would be highly appreciated. And for all my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe and leave a review if you are on Apple. As for Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean listeners, just continue to show your support in any way possible. That would be highly appreciated. Very action-packed show lined up for you guys today. Going to be talking a lot about free agency. Lots of news going down. Obviously, I'm not going to get to everything, but I'm going to try to get into the winners and losers of free agency so far, as well as some other notable deals. Going to be discussing also Team USA winning gold once again. We're going to go into a bit of detail on that. And we're going to finally talk about the Summer League. Some pretty solid performances throughout the Summer League. Kind of talk a few about the rookies. And basically my message to NBA fans when watching the Summer League and basically how they shouldn't be, falling in love too much with these prospects. So, yeah, going to be an action-packed show. Again, thank you guys for all the support you've been giving to the podcast. I know the schedule is still, getting there, but I guess, from now on, hopefully it's going to get a lot easier to, help go through. So, yeah, again, just continue to support. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Let's get right into this episode. Like I said, free agency, lots of deals happened. There were some winners, there were some losers, and we're going to be discussing them right here, right now. Let's get into it. Yeah, there's going to be winners, losers, and I think also some neutral teams, which I will get into later. So, yeah, let's start on a positive note for sure. Let's talk about the winners. Let's talk about the Miami Heat because, man, they have had a busy offseason. Signing Kyle Lowry to a 3-year, $90 million deal in a sign-and trade, which involved Goran Dragic going over to the Toronto Raptors and Precious Achiuwa going along there as well. They also signed Jimmy Butler to a 4-year, $184 million extension, and they also re-signed Duncan Robinson 5 years, $90 million. And they also made some minor deals on the side, a minimum 1-year deal with Markieff Morris and also a 2-year, $15 million deal with P.J. Tucker. And what is this telling him? What this moves are telling me about the Miami Heat team is that they have all their chips on the table and they're going all in. That's what they're doing right now. Pat Riley, freaking the godfather of the NBA, just knows how to get his players, knows how to get deals done, and that's exactly what he did here with this Miami Heat team. 2 years ago they made the NBA Finals. Last year, pretty disappointed. I mean, obviously the COVID stuff really hindered them, the other injuries as well. But whether you want to use those as excuses or not, they should have been better than a first-round sweep against the Milwaukee Bucks. They should have been a lot better. So what does Miami do? They know that they have a team set to win right now. Let's bring in some guys that will help us win right now. So they brought in a veteran, Kyle Lowry. They brought in P.J. Tucker, brought in Markieff Morris, and they made sure that they had their core guys settled in. Because they just re-signed Bam last season, they now bringing back Butler, bringing back Duncan Robinson. They just heavily improved their team. Now, what concerns me about this at the moment is kind of how long they're signing these guys to. PJ Tucker, sure, 2 years, $15 million, fine. Markieff Morris on a minimum deal, perfectly fine. Kyle Lowry at the age of 34, is it 34 or 35, whatever it is. 3 years, $90 million. That's a lot. That is a lot of money. If you remember my free agent preview last episode, I thought he was going to get around 3 years, 80, and I was still kind of hesitant on that. They paid him 3 years, 90, and look, I love Kyle Lowry and all that. A bit much. Just a little bit much. Jimmy Butler, great player, great person, just a very good competitor. 4 years, 84, seems like a bit much. Duncan Robinson, same idea. 5 years, $90 million. I mean, I guess it's okay because he's getting around Joe Harris money, but man, that is still quite a bit of money. And the current core you got right now, and Kyle Lowry, Butler, Hero, Bam Adebayo, Robinson, and then obviously Tucker and Morris, Is it a championship contender? I'm not sure. Because if you look at the landscape of the East right now, obviously you got Brooklyn at the top. You still got the defending champion, Milwaukee Bucks. We don't know what's gonna happen with Philadelphia this coming around this season. They still got the Hawks to deal with. They still have to deal with the Boston Celtics wherever they finish. Is this team enough to be part of that certain first, echelon, especially with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets? I don't know. I don't know about that yet, and I still have my doubts. But they had a plan, they executed it, and Miami has brought in just so many new pieces. I like the fits as well. I mean, Kyle Lowry fits that so-called Heat culture everyone's talking about. They re-signed the leader of that team and Jimmy Butler. Markieff Morris fits that. PJ Tucker fits that. And now when you look up and down the roster, now that Bam is going into his, sixth season or fifth season, he's going to be just getting another year better. Hopefully Tyler Hero can bounce back from that horrendous playoff run that he had. The team's good. The team's good. Are they going to have these guys back in the in title contention? I have my doubts. I 100% have my doubts, but they still are a very good team. Yes, they lost Trevor Ariza. Yes, they lost Precious, Kendrick Nunn, and all that. But in the places that they needed help, they got help, and I think that they stuck to their game plan, and you just got to applaud them for actually being able to execute that plan. So winner, Miami Heat. Now let's talk about a couple losers here. Let's definitely talk about a couple losers here. And we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics first. They brought in Bruno Fernando and Chris Dunn in a trade which involved Tristan Thompson. They lost Kemba Walker, they lost Ojale, lost Fournier and Christian Thompson. Obviously still brought in Al Horford, Cantor, and Josh Richardson. I just don't know if this is enough to really move the needle for the Celtics. Luckily for them, they still have two great star pieces in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But the pieces around them are still a little iffy to me, man. Horford is back, which is good. I am very happy about that. Bringing Josh Richardson to come off the bench should help quite a bit, whether he starts or comes off the bench. Cantor, good player for them a couple years ago. Obviously still has his defensive struggles. Chris Dunn, another guard piece, fine. But they didn't really make that big move to kind of catapult them into the upper echelon of the East. Because that's where we were considering them last year. We thought that they had, Jason Tatum was going to take the next step, which he did. Jaylen Brown, we thought they were going to take the next step. Yes, he did. But the pieces around them are just still not good enough. They're 100% not good enough. And this is the problem now. I mean, all those draft picks that you acquired, yes, you got Jaylen Brown. Yes, you got Jason Tatum. But once you got those guys, you got to start flipping those picks, man. But Danny Ainge, before he left and before Brad Stevens took over, just keep doing darts at the board, hoping to land another superstar in the draft. And they just kept getting average player, out of a league type players. And look now, they just do not have many assets to work with. Luckily, like I said, they still have Brown and Tatum. But with the current cast of teams around them, I cannot see them being in the top echelon of the East anymore. I just can't. I think Miami's still better than them. I believe that the 76ers, whatever lineup they have next year, even if they have Ben Simmons back, I think they're still better than them. And then you got teams like the Atlanta Hawks who are still on the come up. We don't know what's going to happen with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We don't know what's going to happen with the Chicago Bulls, who we're going to get into very shortly. I mean, teams around them are getting better. But the Celtics, honestly, I think they either haven't improved, and some people may say they've gone worse, which is really, really tough because we thought that the Celtics had one of the brightest futures in the league, and some people will still say they do. But this off-season so far has not been great. They got some decent pieces, but nothing to really move the needle going forward. They didn't. And it's they just need to be more aggressive because they got Jason Tatum, they got Jaylen Brown. They have pieces there to have a basis for a championship team, but they just got to be more aggressive in the trade market and free agency when trying to bring in guys to help build around them. Because right now that their current roster, just not good enough. Just not good enough, and that's why I have the Celtics as a loser so far in free agency. Let's go for another loser, though. Let's talk about another loser. And we gotta talk about Dennis Schroder. Dennis Schroder, man. This guy is kind of the epitome of when betting on yourself doesn't pay off. Fred VanVleet, obviously bet on yourself was definitely a phrase before Fred used it, but that's Fred's motto. He bet on himself. He got the money he wanted, which is, I believe it was 4 years, $85 million from the Raptors. Dennis Schroder, this guy got an offer from the Lakers back in February, 4 years, $84 million, and he thought, look, I'm better than that. I am a $100 million type player. And man, has that not worked out for him. I mean, I'm glad he has that confidence with himself. I mean, last year, 15-5 with the Lakers. Obviously, the year before, this guy was, I think, runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year with the OKC Thunder. I think almost 20 points a game. This guy thought he was all that. And now he just signed a deal with the Boston Celtics, who I just mentioned now. I mean, I think that's the reason I want to include him here. He signed a 1 year, $5-point-something million deal with the Celtics. You know, decent deal for the Celtics. Not great for Dennis Schroder, who was hoping to get $100 million this offseason. Turned down for his 84 with the Lakers. And now he's got none of that. Now he's basically on a 1 year mid-level exception type deal. Which is not something you want if you're Dennis Schroder and you just entered your prime. It's rough, man. I mean, betting on yourself, it's a good model to live by, but sometimes you just gotta evaluate your value and just take what you can get. Dennis Schroder was playing some of the best basketball of his career down in OKC. And honestly, this playoff run, this end of the season run from the Lakers, really hurt his value. And with the money he was expecting, let's be honest, no team was going to offer that. Now he ends up in the Celtics. I mean, he's not a bad player. I think he can maybe help recoup some of that money if he plays well here. But still, man, he bet on himself and it didn't pay off. I mean, I was going to do this separately, but literally just like a few hours before I record this episode, they announced he's joined the Celtics. So I found it very fitting. I found it very, very fitting that he ended up there basically on an MLE deal. He lost. He lost, plain and simple. He definitely should have taken that money from the Lakers in retrospect. But, I mean, as just someone who wants to see these players do well, hopefully he proves people wrong. Hopefully he does well with the Celtics and they do well. And that he can kind of get back to maybe that $20 million range, because honestly, I wouldn't have minded the Lakers giving him that. Maybe it's a bit much, but I would see that his value is maybe around the 17 to 20 million mark. Why not? Especially because of what happened in OKC. Now, I understand why the teams don't want to get him, especially with the amount that he's asking. So, yeah, Dennis Schroeder's a loser in this free agency so far. Let's talk about another winner in free agency. And we got to talk about the Chicago Bulls, man, because, man, they made a massive splash in free agency. Bringing in DeMar DeRozan, sending away Thaddeus Young, I think a couple picks, and I believe one more player. And they signed DeMar DeRozan to a 3-year, $85 million deal. They did another sign and trade for Lonzo Ball, 4 years, $85 million, sending out Garrett Temple and I believe one other player. I think it was Tomas Satoransky. They brought in Lonzo Ball, 4 years, $85 million. They also brought in Alex Caruso, who was a Laker legend. Obviously, we all know about the legend Alex Caruso. And he signed a 4-year, $37 million deal with the Chicago Bulls to come off their bench, which I believe was a good signing. And luckily for them, I mean, they still got a possibility in trying to get Lauri Markkanen out of the team through a sign and trade. So they might not even be done yet. And they definitely made some big moves this offseason. Now look, they made that trade for Vucevic at the trade deadline, and they were hoping that would be good enough to get them to push to the playoffs. Clearly, that wasn't the case. They actually ended off the season very badly, and that had to do a lot with Zach LaVine's health and safety protocol mishap, which was unfortunate, but, you know, with the team that they still had, they were trying to compete in the East. And they were like, look, we need to get players here that can help us win and improve in the areas we need most. What do they need most? Playmaking and just shot creation. And they got that in these three players. Caruso, a great player a good player on both ends of the court. Will play hard on every single defensive possession, and he can hit the occasional three. Help out a bit on the offensive end, even with some ball handling duties. Lonzo Ball, one of the best transition passers in the league. A much improved 3-point shooter. I think almost at 40% or just over 40%. And this guy is one of the better defensive guards in the league. And they also brought in DeMar DeRozan, who I was very surprised ended up on the Chicago Bulls because if you remember last week, like I talked about Larry, I thought he was going to get less money, and I thought he would either end up on the Heat or the Mavericks. The Bulls got him, 3 years, $85 million, and I'm basically going to be repeating what I said for Larry. I think it's a bit much. DeMar DeRozan at almost $30 million a year at this point of his career feels like a lot of money. And the Bulls are very similar to the Heat in the sense where they are in a situation where they're not in that top in that tier 1 type team in the East right now. For the Bulls, I think they're borderline tier 2. And the only reason I say that they're borderline tier 2 is because we just haven't seen them play together yet. That's the only thing I'm waiting for. Hopefully, in the marketing deal, maybe they could do a sign trade and get some maybe 7th, 8th man pieces to help improve their bench, which would be really useful. But it feels like they're settling for mediocrity. A starting five, I mean, if you really just look at it, Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, DeMar DeRozan, they could flip-flop at the 3 or the 4, and Nikola Vucevic. Is this a playoff team in the East? I would hope so. Is it, though? It probably will, but is this team good enough to be competing? I don't know. It's a bunch of pieces. I mean, the shooting is still going to be a bit of an issue. Maybe, like, DeMar DeRozan improves his three-point shot, and hopefully Patrick Williams does too. But is this team good enough to win a first-round series? We're going to have to wait and see. But I still got to applaud them for the type of moves they made here in this offseason. They made a huge splash. They went out there, Karnisovas, the guy that they got from Denver to be their general manager / president or whatever. He came in here, made moves, really improved his team. I think this is going to be an extremely fun team to watch this season. We still got to see, like I said, how these pieces fit on the court. But I think that they did a good job making these moves. There's still going to be some doubts, of course, but they made the move. So good job to the Chicago Bulls for just basically, improving on what they have right now. I think that I like the mentality that they had here going into free agency. Let's go back to the losers, though. And another loser, I think, that I see from this free agency is the San Antonio Spurs. From draft reaches to free agent overpays, I'm really not a massive fan of the offseason so far. I said last week in my NBA draft winners and losers, I don't mind them getting their main guy in Josh Primo, but was that a reach? Could they have traded back and still got him? Probably. I just think that they could have done stuff differently. Now looking into free agency, they brought in Doug McDermott, 3 years, $42 million. They brought in Zach Collins, who has barely played in these last few years. 3 years, $22 million, which I still think is a bit of an overpay. They brought in Chandler Hutchinson in like a 5-team deal. They brought in Thad Young. They got Al-Farouq Aminu, who was also in that Chicago trade. They brought back Bryn Forbes. It's just a lot of just exterior pieces, nothing really affecting them and trying to make a playoff push. Now, are they leading into the rebuild? I think they actually are. Basically, their core group of guys there right now was Pirtle, DeJounte Murray, Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, who just won gold, and we're going to be talking about later. They're leading into the rebuild, and even though they're leading into the rebuild, some of these moves are just questionable. I mean, the McDermott 3 for 42, I guess shooters are at a premium now, but this feels like a Doug McDermott move like this feels like something for like a championship contender or like a playoff contender type deal. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a deal that the Spurs need to make. Same thing with the Zach Collins deal. I guess, he had some potential, especially before his injury with the Trailblazers. But man, him missing the last 2 years basically due to injury, do you really want to be betting on that? Not really, not me. I mean, 3 years, 22 still seems like an overpay. I would legit give him like a 1 year, $5 million deal just to see if he can even just stay on the court. Maybe even less. But they gave him 3 years, 22. I mean, there's a reason that the Trailblazers didn't want to give him the qualifying offer. They thought that he wasn't going to be able to stay on the court. And the Spurs locked him up for 3 years. Very questionable deal in my opinion. I mean, like I said, I'm okay with the Spurs going full into the rebuild. But even in this rebuild, I mean, it's just, just questionable moves. I mean, we don't know like how good Josh Primo was going to be right away for them. Is he going to be like a future starting piece? We'll have to wait and see. But you know, I guess trust Popovich, trust the Spurs organization, who has been doing this for the last 25 years. I mean, they've known what they're doing like these last few decades. But just a lot of questionable moves, and that's why I have them as a loser of the free agency so far. One more winner, one more loser before we move in to the neutral teams. Chris Paul's a winner here. Chris Paul's a winner here because of the deal he signed, man. I'm just in shock that he was able to get this deal. He re-signs with the Phoenix Suns, 4 years, $120 million at the age of 36. 4 years, $120 million. I mean, sure, he was fantastic all season long. All-star, All-NBA level player. He was great. He even made All-NBA. But 4 years, $120, which means in the final year of his deal, when he's 40 years old, I repeat, 40 years old, he's going to be making over $30 million. Over $30 million a year. Chris Paul just signed the bag. And he's freaking 36 years old. I mean, you got to applaud it. Obviously, he is one of the biggest driving factors in the Suns' success this past season, of like them making to their first final since '93. But man, 4 years, 120 is just a lot. Now, is it gonna be worth it? We're gonna have to wait and see. But man, just re-sign Chris Paul and you're like, okay, we're okay with paying you $30+ million at age 40. It's just crazy to me, man. He is just a winner. He just won this free agency. This guy has basically made almost like $500 million just on NBA contracts, which is insane. He's a winner here. He is 100% a winner. Just being able to get that money. The Suns being able to make these moves. They brought back Campaign. They basically brought back their team from last year. And they improved at the center position by getting JaVale McGee. The Suns want to stay near the top, man. And I mean, a big part of this was trying to re-sign Chris Paul. And they got it done. So I guess the Phoenix Suns are winners, but more importantly, Chris Paul is a winner here. 100 million%. Next, we have to go with the final loser, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans. And mostly because of the fact I just do not like the moves that they made. I mean, they moved off of people like Lonzo Ball. They didn't bring him back. They brought in Jonas Valanciunas. They brought in Garrett Temple, Tomas Satoransky, and Devontae Graham. Now, Zion Williamson is going into his third season. He made his first All-Star appearance last year. Why don't they want to listen to him? Why don't they? Zion Williamson said that he, like early in the season, that he loved the connection him and Lonzo Ball were getting together. And he really does feel like that Lonzo Ball is a key part of this team's future. You didn't bring him back. Zion Williamson wanted to have just like, it's probably best to have more shooters around him. Where is that? They brought in Jonas Valanciunas, who, yes, had a career year. But he's not going to help with the spacing. He is most effective inside. I'm just not a fan of this Pelicans roster, going up and down. I mean, they signed Devontae Graham to a 3-year, $37 million deal. This guy's still living up the hype from 2 years ago, and honestly, I just don't think he's that great of an NBA player. And they're betting on like a 3-week stretch from like 2019. I don't think that's smart. The Pelicans had some key pieces there, but looking at, they still have Zion, they still got Jackson Hayes. We don't know what the heck is going to happen with him because of the whole incident with him and him getting arrested. They still got Brandon Ingram. They got Kira Lewis Jr. Is this roster going to even compete for another playoff spot? You would hope so, because Zion Williamson is doing his part. Brandon Ingram is holding his end of the bargain. Are the Pelicans organization doing the same? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Josh Hart still. Are they interested in Miles Turner? Are they going to pull off that deal? I don't know. But I just do not like the moves that they made. And with, their history of just losing out on top draft picks, a la Anthony Davis, you just think that they would be, like, kind of more, hearing of Zion. Like, kind of listening to, like, what he, like, wants in his team. But clearly they haven't, so I don't know. I'm just kind of confused there. I'm definitely kind of confused. But, yeah, the Pelicans, I think that they're a loser here. They lost out on Lonzo Ball, who I think would have been, like, probably best if he just stayed around there. They didn't bring him back. They did a good job getting rid of Bledsoe's contract. They did a good job getting rid of Adams' contract. But I'm just not a huge fan of the moves that they made, like in trying to improve this team, especially if they want to be, playoff contenders. Moving away from winners and losers, let's talk about just the neutral teams I just do not have a clear, feeling about yet. Let's first start with my Toronto Raptors. And for the second straight week, I was neutral on them on the NBA draft. Now I'm neutral on them on free agency. And mostly because the deals that they've made this free agency, the most notable one was bringing in Sam Decker. Yes, the Raptors' most notable deal is bringing in Sam Decker as like a new player to the team. Now I think that is like just odd him bringing him over, especially just him coming back from the EuroLeague. But the reason why I am neutral on this is because one, I'm kind of iffy on just the new players coming in because most of them are just kind of like lower end players. But they still did a good job re-signing Gary Trent Jr., 3 years, $54 million, and re-signing Ken Birch, 3 years, $20 million. And most importantly, they brought back their most important free agent in Masai Ujiri. He is returning as president of basketball operations there with the Raptors. Now, the reason I'm neutral is that I just wish that the Raptors would bring in more players. Yes, they brought in Precious Achiuwa. Yes, they brought in Goran Dragic, who Raptor fans are kind of pissed about because of the comments he made yesterday. But the Raptors, I feel like, have not been aggressive enough. I think that the Raptors still kind of lack a direction. But I like the idea of them bringing back Ken Birch, Gary Trent Jr. They got these guys still in Pascal, OG, Fred VanVleet, obviously drafting Delano and Scotty Barnes. Right now, I'm giving them an incomplete grade. But the fact that the Raptors didn't really make a great offer for Jared Allen or Rashawn Holmes, especially when they needed help in the interior, I just think that the Raptors could have been a bit more aggressive, and they've shown that they just have not been that this offseason so far. So right now, I love the Raptors. I'm very excited to see what this roster can do next season. I just don't, I can't give a grade to them right now. I cannot give a full evaluation just because there's so many question marks. I just want to see what these guys do on the court. Especially because a bunch of these guys are young. We're going to have to wait and see how I feel about them come this NBA season. The other team I'm neutral on, the Los Angeles Lakers. And mostly because their roster is just basically just containing old guys. The 4 guys that they kept around from last year's team was LeBron James, THT, who they re-signed on a 3-year, $32 million deal, Marc Gasol, and Anthony Davis. Now they brought in Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza, Kent Bazemore, Wayne Ellington, Dwight Howard. Do you see a pattern here? The pattern I see is a bunch of guys over the age of 30 and a bunch of ex-Lakers, which is really, really funny to me. Now, they added a few young pieces in Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn, who I think they got Kendrick Nunn on this bargain of a deal, 2 years, $10 million. But how is this team going to play together? Yes, they got some shooting. They brought in Wayne Ellington. I like that. They brought in Kendrick Nunn, who had his best three-point shooting season so far in his career. They got guys who is able to shoot the three like Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, Carmelo, Malik Monk. But is this team good enough for us to say, look, these guys are title contenders, full stop? Are they that? Especially with LeBron near the tail end of his career. Anthony Davis, we don't know how he's going to hold up. I don't want to pencil them in as just guaranteed title contenders. I wouldn't pencil them in the NBA Finals just yet. I know the Clippers are down Kawhi Leonard and stuff like that, but I just don't know how this roster is going to play together. I'm very interested to see how Frank Vogel, who just got a contract extension, is going to deal with this. But I'm just not a huge fan of the way they constructed their team. But I also think that they did a good job with the limited assets that they had. I like the fact that they brought back THT as well. I just need to see these guys on the court together. Same thing with the Raptors. I just want to see these guys how they are on the court together. That's my only thing, and that's why I'm just neutral on it. I like some of the moves. I dislike some of the moves. So these are my two neutral teams, the Raptors and the Lakers. I just got to see how it is going to go in the basketball court 100%. Besides that, there have been lots, and I mean lots of other deals in free agency that we are going to discuss. We're going to discuss some of the Rookies getting some contract extensions, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 4 years, 170 million dollar deal. He is a big part of the Thunder future. He had a great year last season, as well as the season before. Very worth it. Trae Young signed a max deal, 5 years. I think it's either 190 something million or just over 200. Again, especially the progression he's made in his third season, him making it to an Eastern Conference Finals already in his young career. Very happy with his progression. He 100% deserved that contract. Steph Curry, man, this guy signed probably the biggest, annual salary per year with the Golden State Warriors. 4 years, $215 million. Supermax deal. One of the best players in the league. One of the best players of all time. The greatest shooter in NBA history. The Warriors, you cannot think about the Warriors and not think of Steph Curry. Another fantastic year last year. They had to do what they had to do. Steph Curry, 100% worth it there. John Collins, yes, John Collins finally got a deal done with the Atlanta Hawks, 5 years, $125 million. I think that's fully deserved. He's shown, especially in this playoffs, that he is not just an offensive threat, but he can be a defensive anchor for this team, which is very, very important. So yeah, John Collins, 5 years, 125. I like that deal as well. Luka Doncic signed the Supermax as well, along with Trae Young. 5 years, $207 million with the Dallas Mavericks. Plain and simple, this guy's going to be the next face of the league. This guy is already a borderline top 5 player in his third season. He's just a fantastic player, and he deserves every single penny. Other moves that happened around the NBA. Kawhi Leonard is going to be re-signing with the Clippers, as expected. We just don't know the details of the contract. Mike Conley re-signed 3 years, $74 million deal with the Utah Jazz. Very good. Nice for Mike Conley. Very surprised that he got that much money at 33 years of age, but he contributed to that team last year, so good sign there for the Jazz. Norman Powell re-signs with the Portland Trail Blazers, 5 years, $90 million. Glad to see him get the bag. Just surprised he didn't get that $100 million contract, 5 years, $100 million. I thought that's what he was going to get around. But he just got under that, but, still got the bag. Congrats to Norm. Spencer Dinwiddie to the Washington Wizards as part of this 5-team trade, which I'm just not going to get into. 3 years, $62 million deal. Very interesting team this Wizards team is, with him, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, and Bradley Beal. Excited to see how this team's going to play next season. Evan Fournier signing with the New York Knicks, 4 years, $78 million deal. Was it needed? I don't know, man. I'm just not a big fan of this deal, especially from the Knicks side. 4 years, $78. I'm okay with the salary, just not okay with the contract length. 4 years on Evan Fournier, a bit much. Tim Hardaway Jr. re-signs with the Mavericks, 4 years, $72 million deal. Great for them last year. I think that is a fair deal for him. Jared Allen re-signing 5 years, $100 million with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Excited to see how him and Mobley are going to do together. I mean, they both expect him to start, Jared Allen being the anchor of the defense. And apparently they're comfortable with Mobley guarding wings and guards and stuff like that, so they don't mind him playing the power forward position. I mentioned Gary Trent Jr. already. Any other deals? I mean, Blake Griffin re-signed with the Nets. Same thing with Victor Oladipo and the Miami Heat. He has returned there. Rashawn Holmes staying with the Sacramento Kings, 4 years, $55 million deal. Those are just the biggest deals. Let me know down below what are some of your favorite deals from free agency so far. If I missed any, let me know in the Instagram comments. Let me know in the comments of the YouTube video. Or just DM me and we could just talk some basketball, honestly. Now let's move on to the Olympics. And we're going to talk quickly about the U.S. winning gold at the 2020 Olympics, defeating France 87-82. This was a fun game to watch. I mean, France got off to an early lead, but the U.S., as they always do, kind of to start turn up after they go off to slow starts. Kevin Durant, masterful once again. I think he had 27 points in the final game, and then 19 points from Jason Tatum as well. Very, very good performance from them. Yeah, 29 points for Kevin Durant. And the thing about the France team, I mean, there were times where it looked like they were down and out, but they kept fighting back. Gobert was doing his best on the defensive end. Gershon Yabusele, former NBA player, he hasn't been in the NBA for a bit now. He was hitting some threes. They tried, but the U.S. team was just too much for them, too much star power, and they were able to pull out the win. Kevin Durant, fantastic playoff Olympic performance. Now is like number one in U.S. men's national team history in terms of like total points, and I think like with like 3-pointers made and stuff like that, he is like number one there. So just another great one from the U.S. I mean, a lot of people were downing them earlier on in the Olympics because of their friendly losses and also losing to France in the group stages. But they just always seem to turn up, right? They just always seem to turn up. And the idea that the rest of the world is catching up to the U.S., I can agree with it to some sense because there are definitely a lot of international players getting to like that star level. But when it comes to just talent up and down on each of these countries, the U.S. still dominates. They 100% still dominate. As seen on this roster, I mean, they weren't even playing Jeremy Grant. They weren't even playing Keldon Johnson, who were solid members of their respective teams. And they still, did their thing. They still were able to pull out the gold medal. And, Draymond Green was kind of trolling everyone saying, who are the people that called us out now? We still won gold. The last time I think they didn't win gold was like in the mid-'80s. So, good for Team USA. They were able to get the win. And yeah, I think it's just for people who are saying that, the rest of the league the world is catching up. They are in one sense, but in terms of just up and down talent, the US is just better. They're just better people. They occupy still the majority of the NBA. This is just what the US does. And whenever their backs are against the wall, whenever they're still being doubted on, they still are able to pull through just because of their star power, just because they just got a damn good team, no matter what team they put out there. So, congrats to Team USA. Congrats to France for getting the silver medal. They were close. They were definitely close, and they got off to a hot start, which had people, kind of scared for a bit. But U.S. still able to pull it through. Congrats on them winning the gold. And in the bronze medal game, I mean, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but Australia were able to pull it out, defeating Luka Doncic in Slovenia 107-93. Just a great performance from Team Australia. The first time they've ever medaled at the Olympics, getting the bronze over here. Patty Mills, just absolutely phenomenal. And freaking FIFA Patty is just a real thing. Finished this game with 42 points, 9 assists. He was just absolutely fantastic. Luka tried in this game, 22 points in this one, but it just wasn't enough. Team Australia just put on an offensive clinic there, and they were able to pull out the win. Again, congrats to them. This is the first time they've medaled. And, just some great moments there after the game. Kevin Durant on live saying, oh, look at this man dropping 40 points with his new teammate Patty Mills, who the Brooklyn Nets actually signed for 2 years, $12 million. And they're saying, oh, the Boston Celtics are in trouble because, Amadoka's on the Team USA staff. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, congratulations to the 3 teams that medaled in the U.S., France, and Australia. Excited to see the future for like how U.S. like what type of U.S. team is going to come in 2024, and just see kind of the growth of these other nations, and hopefully, we can get some more great competition because this Olympics was pretty damn good. Now, before we end today's episode, let us just talk about the NBA Summer League. Not because of the players in general, because I do want to talk not just the players in general, because there's definitely been some good performances. Jalen Suggs, in his Summer League debut, 24 points, 3 blocks, 9 rebounds, couple of assists, 2 steals. Great all-around performance. Scotty Barnes for the Raptors, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple steals, a couple of blocks. Great all-around performance. Even some other players, Desmond Bane, second-year player, 32 points and 4 rebounds in Summer League. There have just been some great performances. But I want to talk about the NBA fans who are watching this Summer League performance and falling in love with these prospects. Just remember to not put too much stock into this. We've seen some Summer League MVPs in the past, like Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma won Summer League MVP. I know Lonzo Ball did 100%. And look, they're good players. They're not great players. Just remember that the best way to evaluate these talents is watching them in like regular season action, playoff action. Wait for the league to start because obviously the best players aren't playing here. And just watching Summer League is just kind of like a good showcase for these young guys and kind of how they play against grown talent, grown men, just compared to how they did in college. But just don't put too much stock into this. Wait for them to get to the league, and that's when you can really make your, true assumptions. but just enjoy watching them. I mean, as a Raptor fan, I was glad to see Malachi Flynn doing well, Scotty Barnes, but I'm also not gonna say, oh, Scotty Barnes did this. I'm glad we took him over Suggs. No. Wait it out, see how they do in the regular season. But just enjoy this, because Summer League is just show us some great performances as well. I mean, Trey Murphy had a great poster dunk. Josh Giddey, literally that first in his first game versus the Detroit Pistons, him versus Cade. Literally the first possession, Josh Giddey, the 6th overall pick, just slam dunked through the lane, which is pretty cool. But just do not put too much stock into this. I mean, Emmanuel quickly had 32 points and 8 assists. We know he's a good player. Let's just see him take that step in the regular season, but see this as great confidence boosters for them. See them as a great chance just to see their skills. But please, just do not, go too far into this with Summer League. It's just Summer League. Wait and make your your true evaluations come to regular season. But yeah, that is all the stuff I want to talk about today on this episode. Let me know down below what you guys think of the Olympics, what you think of Summer League. Just drop in the comment section down below as well as the free agent stuff. Just your favorite Summer League performances so far. For me, watching Jalen Suggs do what he does, I mean, I'm still not gonna get. Of course, I'm not giving up on Scotty Barnes. I'm not gonna put too much stock into Summer League, but he was fun to watch. It was also fun to watch, obviously, Scotty Barnes, Malachi Flynn, just some great performances there in Summer League, and I think it's gonna be definitely fun, especially with all 30 teams participating. So, yeah, definitely a fun watch. But I think this is where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And remember to follow @TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for some awesome content. Check out Instagram and TikTok for just a lot of just NBA news updates. That's probably where I'm going to be most active. And just look out for weekly episodes. I don't know if I'm going to bring back the 2 episodes a week yet. I kind of want to enjoy my summer and still have a chance to work, so I'm going to keep it 1 episode a week. But I'm going to try and keep it for every Tuesday. I know this week was Wednesday, but we're still going to try to keep it on the Tuesday schedule. And again, just thank you guys for all the support on the podcast. I know from iPod podcast listeners, the last episode was really, really weird. But I just kind of realized I uploaded the wrong file. And I tried switching it, but I don't know if it updated on Apple Podcasts. So I'm just probably just going to leave it up. But this one should definitely be better. Hopefully. I hopefully don't make the same mistake. But yeah, just again, thank you guys for all the support. And hopefully we can get more guests in the future. So if you want to see more guests, just drop a like, subscribe to YouTube, so you can catch all of these episodes going on in the future. Thank you guys for all the support. Hope you have a fantastic day. TV signing out. Take it easy, guys. Peace.